to go 5 points clear, to win away at a very stubborn Palace team is nothing to be sniffed at. And I think we answered maybe a few different questions than what we've been asked so far this season. And you got to say, it was a gritty performance yesterday to go there and win 2-1.
Yeah, we ground it out. I think most performances this season have been full of like really fantastic football and controlling the game, albeit there were elements yesterday when we played some good football and I think we controlled it pretty much for most of the game. But I would say yesterday was definitely a performance where it was definitely stodgy. It was hard to break down a very organised Palace team who was set up to frustrate us and gave us very little spaces to operate in. And we needed a little bit of luck to open the scoring. And I think the game changed a bit once we did go 1-0 up. And all of a sudden we did take the ascendancy and went on to score a fine team goal to make it 2-0. But at 0-0, especially in that first half, I think must have been the first half this season, we didn't have a shot on target. Yeah. We found it very, very difficult to create any sort of opportunities. And Palace, apart from a couple of early opportunities where Vicario had to make a couple of saves, they also found it very hard to get involved with the game. It was very difficult. It was both teams were cancelling each other out for large parts of that game. And Palace away, very physical team. They get in your face. They're very aggressive as well, and especially at Selhurst Park, with the crowd behind them, they can be very, very difficult opponents. So sometimes in these kind of games, as Ange said after the game, you have to be patient. You have to kind of feel your way into the game. You have to find solutions. And to be fair, I think we did that. I think second half, we were a different team. We came out and we were much better in the second half in terms of our approach play, much quicker switches of play, which obviously led to the second goal, much quicker football in and around the penalty area. And I think we deservedly won the game. What I would say is, we won the game 2-1 with one shot on target for under 90 minutes. Yeah. So I think that tells a bit of a story in terms of we weren't at our best. It was definitely a difficult game to go and win. But what I really liked about that performance was, even when we weren't playing at our best, even when we were struggling to kind of create chances, we were still really super solid defensively and we were giving barely anything away. And when you do that and you maintain control of the game, the likelihood is you will get one or two moments for yourself in front of goal. And that's what we did, and we took advantage of that.
I never really was standing there in the away end yesterday. I never felt like the result was in doubt. I always thought we were going to find that moment and find that goal. And I never felt really that threatened by the Crystal Palace attack. I felt like Romero and Van de Ven, unbelievable once again. I thought they were probably our best two players on the park, along with Pape Matar. But it was a weird dynamic yesterday because you're talking about one of our highest, if not our highest, percentage of possession this season. 72% possession in the first half, 0 shots on target. What do you put that down to? Do you put that down to Spurs and their lack of creativity, or do you put that down to how well Palace kind of put themselves about yesterday?
I would say the possession stat is probably a bit misleading. Not misleading in terms of how much possession we had. Obviously, that speaks for itself. But the amount of possession we had was so high is because Palace were allowing us to have that amount of possession. The reason why it's not been maybe as high in other games is because the opposition, I think, were more willing to try and win the ball back up off us, and that leaves a lot more spaces. The fact that Palace were giving us the ball, just saying, here, what can you do with it? Pretty much not, very rarely were pressing us high and were sitting fairly deep and very, very compact, especially in the middle of the pitch. I think that tells a story of why we had so much possession, but even though we had high number of possession, we were unable to create anything, because that was the game plan for Palace. The plan was for them to allow us to have possession and try and catch us out. And to be fair, for the early parts of the game, when Ayew had the opportunity, I think Edouard forced a good save over Vicario. It looked like that game plan might work for them, but when their chances started to dry up, which they did fairly quickly, and then Tottenham just maintained control of the game, and once their attacking threat diminished, then they had a problem, because it meant the whole game was just going to be basically trying to relieve the pressure from Tottenham, and we were just relentless throughout the game, and in the end it told. So I don't think the possession stats tell a story about about our lack of creativity per se. I think it tells more about Palace's game plan going into the game.
And then the second half came, and Spurs did change it around really quickly, and I felt like we were much, much better in that second half than we were in the first half. And the XG tells the story. I mean, 72% possession in the first half, 0.12 XG. When you go to the second half, 79% possession and a 1 XG, which you can see we became much better in that second half. And we get that goal early on with great play from James Maddison. He whips it across the box, and they put it in. Ward puts it into his own net, but if he's not there, it probably falls to Richarlison, and he scores at the back post. Well, you'd hope he'd score at the back post.
Nothing's guaranteed at this point, to be fair.
And I felt like that goal, maybe people will say, oh, it's a lucky goal, but I felt like it was due to the persistence that Spurs showed and the great play that James Maddison putting a great ball across the box.
Yeah, and it was the first time we really put their goal under serious pressure and actually got inside the box and made it count. It was good work from Sarr, as you say, on the right-hand side. Nice little interchange to Maddison. He fires it across the face of goal, and whatever you want to say, a bit of luck, but like the difference between that and maybe I remember when I was talking about Romero's own goal against Arsenal, I said that's one of those own goals where I think he could have done more. I think he made a bit of a mistake with that own goal, Romero. I think he sliced it a bit. I think he'll look back at that and think I could have definitely done better in that situation. I don't think Ward can say the same. There's not much he can do in that situation. It's going to go to Richarlison. He has to put a foot in. If he doesn't put a foot in, they probably go 1-0 down anyway. So he does what he can to try and just prevent it going to Richarlison because it's a pinpoint ball.
The only thing he can do is just hook his leg across it and get it away from the goal.
Yeah, but it's a split.
I know, I get that.
You know what I mean?
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's difficult. I'm saying that's literally the only thing he could have done to avoid it going in.
So the difference there, I'm saying, when I look at that own goal, it's one of those own goals where he couldn't do much about it. So I think that own goal is caused more from the quality of Tottenham rather than a mistake from Palace, which again goes, in my opinion, that goes down to a good work from Spurs. So even though there was a bit of luck with the finish, obviously it goes in off a Palace player. I think it was a well worked goal at the end of the day, and if Ward wasn't there, Richarlison was probably going to tap home anyway. And it was a really well worked goal. And again, Maddison at the heart of it yet again for Tottenham, another right involved in more of our good attacking play, which he was in the second half. So fantastic look, and we deserved it kind of for our persistence. And once we won 1-0 up, the game changed a bit for sure.
Yeah, and I thought the game massively changed 10 minutes after that when the subs came on. I thought the subs and Postecoglou managed the game, I thought, perfectly yesterday. I thought the subs came on at the exactly right time. They made the exact impact that we needed to make them. Brennan Johnson coming on, I thought he was brilliant. And Pierre Højbjerg was kind of orchestrating. I thought we had a lot more control in the middle of the park, more when Højbjerg came on than when Basuma was there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Basuma went off at the right time, I would say. Obviously, maybe he was to avoid a yellow card, but maybe he was hamstrung by the fact that he knew he was on the yellow. I don't think he had a bad game by any means, but he wasn't maybe at his best.
I thought he was a bit sloppy in the first half.
I would say he was a bit subdued. Do you think it
was a subdued performance because he did have one eye on that Chelsea game and was trying not to get booked?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to put it down to that. But it was definitely a bit subdued. I would agree with that.
There was an image after the game of both of his thighs with ice packs on them. Maybe he was carrying something or felt some tightness in something. I don't know.
That could be potential. But we have Højbjerg, who came on and did a great job on Monday night. Did another great job yesterday. I thought, looking really sharp when coming off. Gave us even more control in the centre and put in a fine performance. I actually thought as well, I was disappointed with Emerson a bit on Monday night, but I'd say I thought he did really well when he came off. He came on at half time yesterday, and I actually thought it played really well at left back. And that inverted role, in a weird way, I think kind of helped him because it meant like he's not always he didn't have to go to the byline and try and support the attack in that way. Because he's inverted, it lends him to being a bit more central anyway, and it allowed him to play his more natural game, I felt, in a weird way. So I actually thought he had a really good performance, and I agree with you. I think Ange got the subs, the timing right, and I think whereas maybe in previous games I've complained where sometimes we've made subs, especially when we're winning, and we haven't really improved on that winning position, and we've actually stagnated a bit, especially that happened on Monday, where we were playing well, and then we made those subs, and we were not great, but it was very different.
You know why? It's because we didn't take off Son or Maddison, that's why.
Yeah? Did they play 90 minutes both?
They both played 90 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. Maddison
came off in the last minute for Brian Hill.
But
look, I think we've got to talk about Ben Davies though, because in that inverting role, he got hooked at half time.
Said he had a bit of an injury.
It was an injury. Yeah, I was just about to say, but I don't really think that role suits him. I didn't think he was that good last night. I thought they were like pretty much targeting him on that left hand side, and when he was coming into the midfield, I don't think he does anywhere near the job that Destiny Udogie can do. I think you can probably handle it for a game here, a game there, but if it's any long stretch of time, I think we're going to see massive flaws in it.
Yeah, look, it was only 45 minutes in a game. Clearly, what he was maybe had an injury during the half, so I don't want to completely judge him on that. But I would say is
you can only go on what you saw, though, can't you?
I know, but I can't completely judge him on 45 minutes where he had a bit of an injury and he went off at half time. I didn't think he was that bad, in honesty. I did think he's not going to give the industrious performance that Udogie can give because of the sheer physicality Udogie has. He's so hard to deal with for oppositions. He almost becomes another threat for oppositions to deal with, whereas Davis...
That's why we lose so much.
Yeah, he's never going to be that. He's only going to be what he can be. He can be part of the team, and he can do a job for the team. But oppositions are never going to look at him and be worried about him like they will about Højbjerg. So that's why about Udogie. So it's no surprise there was a big loss at left back there, but it was only 45 minutes. I don't think he did anything too bad, but. When you're comparing him to Udogie, who's probably been the best left back in the league this season, it's going to be not a fair comparison for him.
Yeah, I just felt he was struggling a little bit. Maybe that was down to injury. But look, we got the job done at the end of the day. But after those subs were made, Bissouma and Richarlison go off, Johnson and Højbjerg come on. 2 minutes after that, we score a goal, and a great team goal out of that. I mean, Sarr with an unbelievable over the top out wide. Maddison with some lovely play with Brennan Johnson. And Sonny is there. And, Sonny found it hard throughout the game, to be honest. He was getting crowded out a lot of the times. But that is what you need Sonny for, to be there in that moment to finish off the goal. And at that point, it was game over. And
with Sonny, he's becoming also a striker where he doesn't have to be so involved in the game, but one chance he's going to be clinical because he is that clinical. Yeah. We know how unbelievable he is on both feet, finishing inside the box, and there was always this kind of worry about him, for me anyway, about against low blocks. Is he going to be able to struggle? Is he going to be able to get involved in the game? Is he going to be able to find the goals, find those moments? And you know what? He's proving me absolutely wrong, because it's now, I think, is it 3 away games, apart from the Luton game? Maybe it's 3 away games, 3 out of the last 4 away games he's scored, and he's scoring goals in positions where like strikers should be, like kind of poachers' goals inside the box, finishing chances inside the 6-yard box, first time finishes, and that's very hard to stop. And when I talk about being able to play against a low block, these are the kind of things I'm talking about, finding little positions inside the box where you're hard to pick up. And he's so good at those first-time finishes. All you need to do is make sure that cutback is accurate. And if it finds Son, more often than not, it's going to find the back of the net. And it happened again yesterday. He wasn't so involved in the game. He didn't have to be. All he had to do was, when the chance came to him, put it away. And that's 8 goals in 10 games now for Heung-min Son. And since he's moved to striker as well, I think that's 8 goals in 7 games since he moved up front.
Yeah.
So he's been absolutely fantastic. He's really taken on that number 9 role phenomenally ever since he's moved there, and he's becoming one of the best strikers in the Premier League, which is incredible to think about.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I can't wax lyrical about Son enough. Like, to do it at such a tough ground as well, when you're not going to have much space and you have to be so patient to get your chances to come by. He was there in the right moment. It was game over from that point. And 2 players I want to highlight today. First of all, James Maddison, where probably didn't have his best of games, where he was fairly quiet against a resolute Crystal Palace team. But what he did do is showed his grit and showed how hard he works for the team. 4 out of his 9 ground duels were successful yesterday. He was involved in both goals. The first one, obviously, with an assist for the own goal where he whips it across the face of goal. And the other one with a lovely interchange with Brennan Johnson. The way he just takes that man out of the game and then feeds Brennan Johnson with that lovely little 1-2. I mean, even on his quiet days, he's producing football like that.
Yeah, you'd probably say it's his worst performance of the season, and he's still heavily involved in both goals he scored, and that shows the quality of him. And the way he nutmegged, I think it was Joel Ward for that second goal, was absolutely phenomenal. He just patiently waited for the run of Johnson. They couldn't get close to him because I think maybe players are wising up to the fact of what a good dribbler he is. So you saw once he got the ball, Ward had to stand off him because he didn't want to get too tight to him because he knows he can kind of roll away from you now. And maybe that's something that people didn't think about Maddison previously, but now you can see it's starting to affect how defenders are defending against him. And so Ward didn't get tight to him, and what that allowed is Maddison just that time and patience just to wait for the run of Johnson, and he makes it look easy, but he just slowly
perfectly into his stride, isn't it?
Perfect weight of pass, perfect timing of pass as well, right into Brendan Johnson's stride, and all Johnson has to do is pull it back for Son, and bam, it's 2-0. Brilliant piece of play, interchange between Maddison and Johnson, which was a brilliant team goal actually in general, that goal, the second goal as well. But he had a quiet day, I think, overall. I don't remember too many shots on goal. He had one in the first half, which he probably could have done better with inside the box. Apart from that, it was a quiet day for him. But again, what quality players do is even in their quiet days, they still come up with moments in the game to make the difference. And that's what he did.
Yeah, and that comes for both him and Heung-min Son. But another player I wanted to highlight today was Pape Matar Sarr, who I thought was absolutely brilliant. I think he was a key reason to why we did look fairly comfortable for the most part yesterday. This guy just never stops running. He's so physical. He's just literally, he's got like literally batteries attached to him or something to his back. I don't understand it, like how much energy, even in the 90th minute where like everyone seems to tire, he's still buzzing around the place like it's the start of the game, and he's involved in both goals yesterday. High quality moments in the game as well, with that lovely ball over the top to Brennan Johnson, the ball into Maddison as well. I mean, we were talking about this guy potentially coming out of the team for this game because Højbjerg played so well in the Fulham game, and do we push Højbjerg up to the number 8? But Pape Matar Sarr came in and was one of the best players on the pitch, if not the best player on the pitch yesterday, and he shut everyone up there saying, all right, bring Højbjerg in.
Yeah, and I was one of them saying, not to say I wanted Sarr drop because he's been bad. I would just say Højbjerg's playing very well. Sarr's maybe not at the level he was earlier this season, so I wouldn't mind see a game with Højbjerg and Basum and see how that goes. But I have to say, Sarr was back to his best, back to how he was at the beginning of the season. Again, he's been so consistent this season where even in the last few weeks, I'm saying he's dropped off, but he's still giving 7s out of 10 pretty much every week. But now yesterday was back to giving 8s and 9s out of 10 yesterday. Another brilliant performance from him. And what I really liked about the performance is he was showing both sides of his game equally well. He showed brilliant side to him off the ball, which he does every week. That's always a non-negotiable with Sarr. But again, he was showing his quality on the ball as well yesterday. And sometimes that can be a bit lacking with Pape Matar Sarr. But yesterday, it was on point. Brilliant switch of play for the second goal. A really good interchange with Maddison for the first goal as well. So delighted for him. He just has this element of consistency to his game, which is so hard to find, even for seasoned pros, let alone a 20-year-old or 21-year-old having his first proper season in the Premier League. So big up to him. Another top performance from him, and he's just going from strength to strength. And if he's this good at 21 years of age, imagine him when he's like 25 and really mature and really honed in those his ball striking ability and all that kind of stuff. This is a serious talent we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I can't wax lyrical more about Pape Matar Sarr. He is not only is he so good to watch on the football pitch, but like his attitude and his smiley presence, it just gives good vibes around the place as well. So what a signing he's been, Pape Matar Sarr. And then in the last minute, the moment of the game happened, and Rodrigo Bentancur gets announced as the substitution for Kulusevski in the 90th minute, just before they did score. So we'll touch on Bentancur, then we'll go into their goal. But such a great moment to see Bentancur back on that pitch for such a long time. And I thought he looked pretty sharp when coming on the pitch. He was helping out in the middle of the park. It's not just he was on to get a few minutes. He was actually contributing as well, in my opinion. And it was just a great moment after the game when he was just serenaded by the Spurs fans. Sonny pushing him out to the front so he can get his rewards for being out for so long and sticking with it. Ange Postecoglou was saying he's been bashing down his door to get involved for so long, and it's finally good to see him back involved.
Yeah, it was a really special moment. It brought a bit of a tear to my eye, however, how it all came about. And you saw during the game, the Tottenham fans pretty consistently throughout the game were chanting his chant, chanting his name. And you saw there was one moment, it was about 10 minutes before he came on, where he was warming up, and even though he was on the other side of the pitch on the warm up, he could hear the fans chanting, and he gave a little recognition to the fans chanting his name. So he knew what was coming. And then obviously, once he did get stripped off, and he was coming on after 8 months, it has been since February, he hasn't made an appearance, and he's been injured with a serious injury. To have that moment after 8 months, it was a bit sooner than I thought. You know, even though it's the end of October, I really thought it was going to be November, December till we even started seeing him off the bench. But he came off the bench yesterday, and he was looking really sharp, and he was looking like this guy can start getting minutes again, and he can start being part of the team again. And it must have been so difficult for him watching the team play really well, knowing that when he was injured, he was one of the best centre mids in the Premier League, probably on form when he picked up that injury. How well he was playing, and he was one of the main players of the team, and he was in the form of his life, really, when he picked up that injury. So it must have been so difficult watching from the sidelines as everything's changing, and probably playing a style of football he would like to play in as well, and seeing the good mood around the place, and you're just stuck there injured, and you just have to do your things to get for your recovery. And I'm not surprised that every day that, you know, he's bashing down Ange Postecoglou's door to get involved, because he must be itching to get back to the level that he was showing. And you saw how much it meant to him, not just meant to him, how much it meant to, what really shook me was how much it meant to everyone else that he was getting back involved. And
that's what you call a team.
And how happy they were for him. And that goes to show, I think that says more about him than him being happy that he's back in a way, because obviously he's going to be delighted, and a weight, you see, it seems like lifted off his shoulders. Now he's back involved and back in the team, but you saw how much love the whole team were giving him that he's back involved. And it seems like the team are just excited as he is that he's back involved.
Yeah.
And that is the most exciting thing about it. And just, the thought of him being in that midfield three, given how well they've played already this season, is mouth-watering, and I can't wait to see him back involved. And I couldn't be happier seeing him back on the pitch yesterday. It really was a special moment. If you haven't seen the scenes yesterday after the game with him and the fans, it was really special. So I implore you to go check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then straight after Bentancur does come on, we do concede. Joachim Andersen with a lovely ball over the top to Jordan Ayew. I mean, Pedro Porro, it just goes straight over his head. I don't know, maybe he should be doing a bit better there. But it does clearly strike his arm and then fall into his path, and he knocks it into the back of the net. I mean, how is that checked and not ruled out?
The funny thing is, that was an extraordinarily long check.
Yeah.
It was a good... in the studio, I was watching the watch-along highlights, because obviously in the stadium we don't have a great... we don't know exact timings, but in the studio they were saying it was about a 3-minute wait. They had a 3-minute check, and we were obviously in the stadium wondering what the hell's going on. We thought maybe they're checking for an offside. We don't really know, because we know if it's a handball, if there's any evidence he touched the hand, then they have to disallow the goal. If the goal scorer is the one that scored, it touched his hand. So I've watched it back. I think you can clearly see if you slow it down, there is a slight touch on his left hand, which allows it to be controlled in front of him to score. It's a great goal, got to give him credit, great volley from Ayew, but it definitely touches his hand. As the ball's coming, it hits his chest and then definitely rolls onto his hand, which allows the ball to be controlled in front of him. So the fact they looked at that for 3 minutes and concluded that there was that they couldn't find any conclusive evidence of a handball is a bit ridiculous. And I can't believe they had to look at it for so long and then decide
and then get the wrong decision.
It's a bit crazy. This is the problem with VAR. They've got these extraordinarily long wait times for little well, it's not a little thing, but you have to really slow it down. You have to really look if there's a handball, if there's not a handball, and it just ruins the momentum of the game. And then either way, whether they give the goal or not give the goal, fans are going to be frustrated about the situation. So they've got to find a better way of basically going through processing these kind of incidences.
And at the end of the game, they finished the better out of the two teams, Crystal Palace did. And on another day, that could have really cost us. It could have, they could have been
chance right at the
exactly.
end,
they had a big chance right at the end, and if that goes in, we're all going back to that moment when Ayew scores and it strikes his arm, saying, "Why is that goal not ruled out?" And it could have cost us points.
Yeah, and
you know what? Spurs team of last year, the year before, would have dropped points and would have conceded right there in the last few minutes. And you've got to commend the resilience of Tottenham, the resilience of Vicario as well in goal, because he steps up for us in such big moments for us this season. But look, we're sitting here. No one else has played so as of yet, as recording this, but we are sitting 5 points clear at the top of the league. And now we can just sit up and watch the rest of the Premier League action unfold with our feet up, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice knowing when you're the first game of the weekend and you get that win. And it doesn't matter what happens, we're going to end the weekend top of the league, which is incredible. So that is... what a way to start the weekend. I think we're all going to have a whole bender this weekend, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
A few parties, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for that. But that is our match review.